Hello, what is up? Shit. So hopefully you can hear me good at this distance. We'll have to see how it sounds, and maybe if it doesn't sound super great, we just won't publish. Hang on. So it's like super late. Well, it's like so late that it's basically early. And I don't know, I'm chilling. If this video does make it to my channel, I guess, it's probably going to be just chatting from now on. So, for reasons we don't need to get into right now, it came to my attention. Nothing became. It came to my attention that it would probably be best for me to remove kind of identifying information, such as my body face, where I was, my neighborhood and shit, that I'd, the neighborhood, that I would record in sometimes. I was quite cavalier with how I kind of presented myself online. I didn't have my name attached to it, but like I had like if you wanted to like find out where I was at, like you could pretty easily just because of what I was posting, and probably by extension who I was if you're like a geek like that. But I just figured like I'm just fucking hanging out. I just want to say my shit. I don't have to like fucking go through all the hoops of trying to hide where I'm at, or where shit's at, where I'm at, and where my life's at, kind of who I am. But now I'm like, well, perhaps it would be better if I could have a more anonymous platform, a little more removed, where I felt I could speak a little bit more frankly. So I removed a bunch of my older videos, a while back. Probably gonna remove all the other videos, like all the videos on my channel, because they all have my face in them. So, if you watched those videos and you remember what I'm talking about, please do your little buddy a favor and just forget you saw any of that. And just don't go around trying to dox me. Please. Thank you. Anyway, I swear to God, man, I boot up this voice recorder. I boot up my excuse me, I boot up my movie Magic, right? And the second I do that, all the things I had to say just disappear from my mind. It's like, oh, I have all these thoughts. I need to like get them out somewhere. And then you open up that avenue and they're just gone. Like when you try and write too, that can happen. You can just open up that page, get your pen out, and nothing happens. And it's pretty frustrating because I felt like there have been times where like felt like I was gonna lose it if I didn't get my thoughts down somewhere and out of my head immediately. and I get that notepad or notebook, comic book, whatever it was, hardcover, laptop, phone. I've done that with so many different things. So many different things. But once you open it up, gone. It's like you're meditating. It feels kind of nice though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like, oh man, I had all these ideas, but now I can't get them out onto more permanent lodgings. But then it's like, alright, I'm probably overvaluing my ideas, to some degree. And it's pretty nice to just not have to deal with the thoughts for a bit. So, yeah. I'm just chilling. I'm not sure if it makes for super interesting content, but it does make for a decent pre-morning ritual. Man, it is getting so hot this time of year. It's summer. I think I might be getting sick too. Not that it's like that bad. I'm not like complaining, but I might just need to purge some negative karma or something like that. But yeah, it's maybe it's because I have to stay inside more all day, or just the air quality here is not super great either. But yeah, I'm just getting like a sore throat. Maybe because I'm talking too much, and there's a couple other reasons. No homo. I realized like what that sounded like right after I said it, but No, that's not what's going on. But, believe what you will. Uh, Man, I just feel like I do feel like I have so many things to do. Maybe that's why I'm getting sick. I'm just overwhelmed. I've just been kind of, I don't know, I guess like to some degree I've been isolating, but it's like part of it's because I'm so broke, bro. bro, bro. I have like negative money in my bank account, like a lot of negative money in my bank account. I have a lot of anti-money. Um, Antimony? No. So, yeah, that's kind of not really expedient towards having any sort of, well, any sort of a life at all, but any sort of social life, especially here in where I'm at. Um, I am trying to remedy that, but it can kind of be a bit of a loop, a downward spiral, a cycle, where you feel, you do something where you like leave your job, right? You just don't have a backup plan, and then you're not really like seeing people and doing shit from day to day, and man, oh man, my throat's starting to feel pretty shitty. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this video for. Good lord. Let's see if maybe. Oh wow. No, that's pretty disgusting. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. I need to rethink some things. That is pretty crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna explain to you what just happened. I had, I was like leaning on the over my like phone on the floor to talk, and my floor is carpeted, right? And I was like an inch or 6 inches, whatever, away from the carpet. My nose was when I was breathing in and out, and when I would inhale, like my throat would get sore, right? Right? And it feels super dry and shit, and like, oh. And then I moved it, down to the yoga mat that the rest of my body was kind of just. Let's move it over here. Hopefully that's better recording quality, but we're figuring this out as we go, boys. But yeah, I moved the phone down to the recording mat. Yeah, the yoga mat's down the recording mat because we're using it to record. And then I had my nose, above that instead. I breathed in. It felt so much better. So it's like I was like inhaling like a bunch of like, oh my god, I didn't know what that shit is for the carpet. And then probably because that's what got me sick. Fucking A, dude. Fucking A. I mean, this carpet hasn't been washed in a really long time, but it's like I try and vacuum it sometimes, and it's like There's only so much you can do, and you can't watch it or get a new one. You know? Oh my god, dude! I feel like, oh yeah, that's not great for my throat and sinuses. Oh, jeez, Louise. All right. Oh shoot. I mean, I'm sure I have more things to talk about, and I'll find them eventually. But oh man, I'm just starting to feel really not super great, especially in like the throat. Oh, ow. Yeah, and that's like, obviously it's what I use to talk into the microphone. So I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep doing the video. But if I talk like this ASMR whisper voice, then my throat doesn't hurt so bad. So I guess I'm just gonna talk like that for the rest of the video. Okay. I hope you don't mind. This kind of talking style. If it really annoys you, then I understand. You can just close out the video here, but goddamn, this feels so much lighter on my vocal cords and throat. Holy shit. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to talking normally. Well, we'll have to see. I'm trying to get the rest of my register involved in what I'm saying, so that it doesn't sound just as airy and ASMR-y, but it also doesn't hurt my throat, because that seriously hurts when I do that last more normal style of talking, like ow, ouch, oof, owie, my bones type stuff. You feel me? So I don't know. You're just gonna have to deal with it. For now, I'm sure eventually we'll become like the ASMR whisper voice. The ram horn. They have a ram horn or a cow horn or sheep horn. I mean, ram is a sheep. What the fuck am I saying? But in the old-timey fucking movies and TV shows and shit, the fantasy worlds where fucking the armies are about to rush out to the battlefield, and then they have that horn. It's like a trumpet, and the noise it makes. You know how it goes, Sorry about that. That was my attempt at making the horn. Battle horn. The ram horn sound. And my ASMR whisper voice. I hope that you can hear what I'm saying, because the mic is not that close to my mouth, and I don't know how loud this is in decibels that can be picked up by my microphone. But you're just gonna have to work with what we got. We're just gonna have to work with what we got. I mean, I really like what I've been saying so far. but I glass bottles. Instead of cups, I just use really big, like 40 ounce or so glass bottles. And the glass bottles, I don't understand why more people don't use them like that, because they have screw-off lids where you store more water, in the same, like mostly the same size vessel. It's a fair bit bigger than a water cup, but you can get a water cup if you want something smaller too. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of the next point I'm going to say, but I just mean if you like having it like in your room or something, I don't know. But also the screw-off lids, like if you just keep the lid on when you're not immediately drinking it, it makes it so much less likely to spill. Do some fucking obnoxious shit because you have a fucking carpeted floor. We have to run and get a towel and fucking drop that on the wet splotch and step on it until it is mostly absorbed. And then, since it's carpet, you have to leave the towel on the wetness and just kinda let it hang there for hours and hours and hours. I don't really like doing that sort of thing. So that's why the screw-off bottles become so useful. If you're a bit of a lazy bones like myself, then you might want to consider looking into getting some of those yourself. I don't know. Just a thought. Oh, man. I am so over being unemployed. Yeah, it's just not all it's cracked up to be. Not at all. I don't know, man. I don't know. The thing is, though, like, for me at least, because the jobs that I have had, most of them, well, pretty much all of them, if we're really being honest, have just sucked so bad, so hard, that every time that I part ways with said organization, I have a bit of an initial high, a rush, a honeymoon, where I just kind of embrace my freedom before, the money runs out, and that happens pretty quickly, usually. So it's proceeded, it's succeeded. It transitions to a slump that can last like a couple weeks, depending on what's going on. And during a slump like that, I just let's just say I isolate myself, and fall into rather dissolute patterns of behavior. But I feel like with me that I feel like that like the high, the honeymoon lasts about a week, and then the depression, the crash, can last around 2 weeks, or give or take a bit, and then you, or I at least, in my experience, and then I come out of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to find a new shitty job that doesn't pay me nearly enough, and treats me like garbage, and doesn't even come close to fulfilling my needs for a fulfilling existence as a human being. And I know that the world doesn't always revolve around me, but if the system, the sort of philosophy or justification that we have for why that's okay because if the world doesn't revolve around me and I'm not getting my way out of it, like, who is? You're telling me no one's getting their way? So no one gets to say, no one gets, the vast majority of what we're doing, the benefit of that. You're telling me that's not what's going on? Or, because most people, once they hear that, they sort of default to, oh well, that is what's going on. I won't dispute that. Surely that would be quite ridiculous. But the reason that is, and the reason why that is an acceptable state of affairs, rather than a grave injustice, the reason behind that is because no one is, quote, forcing you or me or anyone else to do any of these things. The employee can accept and decline job offers at will, and he or she can quit his or her job position at any time. And the employer just has to, quote, accept that. And on the other hand, the employer may hire and fire at his discretion, whatever stripe of worker that the employer is searching for. They're free to do whatever they like. They're free to build whatever personnel team they want. Free to get rid of that personnel team the next day if they so choose. But they do have to bear the consequences. But let's take a look at this. Let's think about this for a little bit. You see, every state in the country, so the entire country, the free market, there are clauses, they're called anti-discrimination clauses, that do restrict on individuals, typically an employer, but I imagine it applies to employees somehow as well. They cannot discriminate on the basis of, religious beliefs. Well, I don't know about that, actually. I think that's on there. But definitely sex, sexual orientation, as they so call it. And well, the obvious one is race. Next obvious one. And then there are obviously a few more. Age and national origin. I think that might be one as well. But we're getting a little bit into the weeds here. The reason I bring this up is because it is only one example of ways in which the, quote, free market is free in the sense that it is free to do what it is allowed to do, and is of course not free to do what it is not allowed to do. This is essentially the modern world's interpretation of freedom. It's a bit reductive, in my opinion. Sorry about that sniff. That was probably pretty gross, but I guess I'll just breathe through my mouth from now on. So where were we? Yes, there are things employees are restricted on doing, and things employers are restricted on doing in terms of their employees. Things people are restricted from selling on the market. Things people are restricted from advertising. Ways people are restricted from advertising. Although these seem to be becoming less and less stringent and less accountable with each passing year, there is, in theory, at least, a group of government organizations whose specific role is to ensure that the way people are advertising their products is not dishonest. Like, isn't that a bit ridiculous? If we have the resources to ensure that a establishment regulates the content of marketing campaigns and, the things that those campaigns are, of course, marketing for. They're marketing. If we have the resources to do that, then why have a marketing system at all? Hear me out on this. We live in a world. We live in a world where on every corner, every street, every freeway, all down the freeway, all over the bus, the train, the airport, the plane, your phone, your home, some even have them tattooed on their skin above their bones. You see, we are bombarded with conflicting, contradicting, contrite messages, slogans, symbols, logos, you name it. So many different eye-grabbing, attention-catching, little datums, little iotas just tiny little bits of information, all presenting something different. And then we wonder why people need to go to hospitals and need to be isolated from the rest of society because they feel like they start hearing dissenting voices in their head and come to a point where they can't find any direction in reality, where they can find so little of a sense of what is good and what is to be done, and what would be best, that to many of us it seems that they've lost a sense of what is entirely. Does that make sense? I think it does. I'd say so. You see, this is an extremely recent development in the course of human history. You would, of course, have iconography, that you would see, as humans in civilized society once we started settling down, so to speak, making our own means of subsistence. In the words of the late, great Carl, and before that, though, I know I'm getting into that was a very rough transition, but we'll get back to it real quick. Before that, they would still have some sort of iconography, the cave paintings, the little statuettes, but it was obviously far more rudimentary and less, I guess you could say, central, as far as I understand. Obviously, it's so long ago that we really have no way of knowing those sort of things with extreme degrees of concreteness. But this is the understanding that makes the most sense at the moment, so it's the one that we're going to have to work with. So, after that, here we are back at the topic. Forgive the earlier rough transition. So, after humans started settling into villages, settlements, producing crops. I'm sorry. I'm trying to cut down on that. After humans started settling in settlements and producing crops of their own, there started to become a more central and prominent, I guess you could say, or inescapable role of iconography and idols, really, is what I mean. We had so many people constructing temples for gods and idols and statues of what those gods may look like. Maybe some steles, I don't know how you pronounce that word, to be honest with you. But it was at this point, it was still very univocal, right? You had the statue of, the local deity, god or goddess. And then, people could look at that and say, oh yes, this is Ashra or Adad or Apollo or Osiris, Thoth, etc., etc. Maybe from now on I should start saying et cetera. We'll see. But people could look at those statues and say, hey, here's our patron god or goddess. She or he protects our lands, our people, our community. She watches over us and he provides us with the things we need. And he or she has the power over to do this, that, the third, is thematically associated with these things. And at some point in the distant godly past, participated in this story. There's mythology is what I'm trying to say. And then that, and then it's just going forward. And then you might have something later where it's like, with more militaristic, imperialistic societies as they started developing, you might have more things to do with strictly a combative, belligerent nature, something that has more to do with secular fighting, although this was often very much tied in with the religious element, or maybe the laws of the local king or emperor, or murals celebrating his victory and his dominance and power and greatness. So you may have those things as well, but it's all still very univocal. This is our God. This is our law. This is our land. And this is what she looks like. This is what it says we need to do. And this is how we represent ourselves to the world and to the people that may have something to say about any of those things. Sorry, I'm getting better at it. But nowadays, right, it's a little different. Let's continue going through history, as you had the world kind of intermixing more and more as the history developed. You had iconography of religious groups kind of spreading throughout different distant lands. So now you have a little bit more of a competition, so to speak, of iconography and cults and ways of looking at the world. Not to say there was never any competition between cults of the old civilized world, but I don't think they occurred on much more local scales. So you have that, but still very restricted to one realm of things in a lot of ways. And then during the Middle Ages, it was probably quite more similar to, for many people, peasants at least, and probably for the majority of the people in the cities as well. It was still very univocal. This is our king. This is our God, his Savior, who we worship, and the church, which disputes about that, were probably some of the most important, largest dissenting voices during that time. This is our king, this is our God, this is our law. And this is what in this book here, is what we have to kind of say. This flag is what we have to say. This symbol, this cross, is what we have when we face the Saracens, who are encroaching on our lands, or our land, or our country, etc., etc. This is what we present ourselves as against them. Then the Industrial Revolution hit, and you had mass production of commodities produced only for sale. You had an ability that was hitherto unprecedented in human history, as the late great Freddie said. And you are now able to get your word out all over town, the country even. It doesn't matter what you're saying for the most part, who you are. It definitely doesn't have to be restricted to information about a king or a god. Of course, it would be highly frowned upon, and in many times probably even punishable and punished, to spread messages speaking out specifically against either of those things. But as long as you were keeping it about something that was, in theory, unrelated to that, those concepts and that establishment, then you are free to go. And so now we have a world, a society, as the still living Georgie great Georgie. He's pretty great, let's be real. As he would say, we live in a society where everywhere you look, you see a message. A brand name, a symbol, instruction, thumbnails, ads on the bus stop, ads on the bus. I won't belabor the points I've already presented, but just imagine a world where every one of those things was for something positive, was reminding you about love, goodwill, sort of inspirational things. Inspirational things without trying to get you to pay them in order to identify with said inspiration. Just take a minute to imagine that. They don't all have to be the same message, but they do more or less all have to agree on what positive looks like. And that's what I think the government's role in regulating marketing should be more geared towards. That should be the basis, in my opinion. Oh man, let me check see how long this video is going on for. Oh dearest me, we are almost at an hour. Wow. Time really flew, guys. I am so sorry about that. Oh man. Well, I can't imagine anyone's still watching at this point or listening, whatever. Hopefully we could hear it because we got into some interesting topics today. But if you are still watching on the off chance, I really do appreciate it. If you like this sort of content, maybe give the video a like and subscribe so that other people can maybe see it and maybe like it, and you can maybe enjoy some of the other stuff I do that's in this vein. We are no longer wage max. We have not done that for weeks, almost a month. And we need to move away from identifying with that, because being a wage cock ain't all it's cracked up to be, either. Being unemployed isn't either, but that's neither here nor there. So, we are going just gonna turn the microphone on and have a little chat. Alright, y'all, have a blessed day. And I really like this, so I think I'll be doing it again soon. But I don't want to make any false promises. Yeah, I have a history about